Some thought have a certain sound, that equivalent to a form. Through sound and motion, I have the ability to paralyze nerves, shatter bones, set fires, and suffocate lungs. It is said that sound is in the physical dimension or realm is the only thing that can penetrate anything. Peace and greetings. Today, what I want to speak about is that sound and how sound affects us. The sound, more specifically, what we take in. So, a lot of attention is paid, and rightfully so, about the foods that we take in and how it affects our bodies, the nutrients, if you will. And if we don't take in the proper nutrients, how our bodies may not form, or more likely will not perform to the levels in which they are designed to form in. But less attention is taken to focus on that sound that we take in and how it affects our spirit, will, and our minds, which then the physical realm or manifestations is created. So what I want to focus on more specifically today are words, and then our words as it relates to our music in terms of sound. So I'll start with the words. Words have their own property, vibratory property, because we're vibratory beings. And to give an example of that, let's do this quick little exercise. So let's take a deep breath. Hum. Now, if you're relaxed enough, when you do that, you will feel the vibration throughout your whole body, from your toes through your head. And that's just to give you a brief example on how we are vibratory beings. So if we take words and we take the smallest element in the physical dimension, which are atoms, atoms vibrate. And if you were to look at an atom under a microscope, you will see them vibrating. And how they create the world that we live in is just the rate of the vibration. So at a slower rate of vibration, they appear to be solid, and you have what we have. So behind me, walls, windows, clothing, anything, atoms vibrating your physical body, atoms vibrating at a slow rate to make it appear that it's solid, versus what appears to be invisible or what you can see through are just atoms vibrating at a higher rate to where it appears that you can look through them. But all of the things are connected. So if we focus back on the words, and if I was to use the Bible as a point of example, first there was the Word, then the Word became flesh. So what does that mean if we look into it deeper? First, it was from the source of the inspiration, or the essence, God, Jehovah, the universe, the creator, the great I am, was the inspiration. From that source was an inspiration. And then from that inspiration became the word through the mind. And then the word became flesh, vibration, to then it vibrate into the physical manifestation of what it is that wherever the inspiration was. So that is the process on how the physical world is created. So what does that mean for our post? So what it means is, if I say, let's look at where we are today in the midst of what many are calling a moment to make a movement based upon the killings of, I won't say all one is more important or more or worse than the other, because you're talking about people who've lost their lives. But the one that has gotten the most attention, George Floyd, along with Brother Ahmaud and Sister Breonna Taylor. But George Floyd, we have a moment to make a movement. So if we're looking at the words, because people we're all speaking about making the world better, making our country better, moving forward to live up to the tenets in which the so-called the founding fathers that we've been taught in school um, drafted in the Constitution to make it a more perfect union. But if we focus on words, and as I said, words have their own properties, they have their own powers, their vibratory powers. We just did the exercise so you can see that in terms of the humming. So if you are in, well, the first relationship itself, and the reason I'm pausing because it's which way do I want to go and how deep I want to go into it. So we should focus on the words that we apply to ourselves, because again, vibratory, we did the exercises, words can manifest upliftment or denigration. So you want to be mindful to use the words that help to uplift self. So in the simplest form, or the simplest example in terms of man, there are 3 levels of man: animal, which is our lower self, man, and God. We should be vacillating between man and God levels. But what's prevalent now is and it has been for a while, the vacillation between animal and man. Because we're not speaking the words that would help us to vacillate at the higher level, which would bring us more into harmony with the God essence within us. So we should be mindful of, one, the words that we apply to ourselves, the sound, because it's vibratory, the words that would help us, that would keep us vacillating between our lower self and our higher self. Conversely, which is the popular form of calling ourselves bitches, calling ourselves the N-word, calling ourselves anything other than the essence that was within us. And then we look and say, how is it that in 2020 that this is running rampant? The denigration, the misogyny, the racism, the bigotry, and words, properties. And the words, and so when I say that, we should be mindful of those who are around us who want to speak upon us in using these words. Not that you can't associate with, but they should they really be in your closest circle? Because if it's about upliftment. And then substituting or replacing those words with words that are about keeping you in your higher self. God, King, Lord, Queen, Prince, Princess, Scholar. I was going to say it's not rocket science, but in essence, it's science. If we think about the atom, because I want to keep tying it in, we think about the atom, smallest element, vibrating. We did the exercise, the humming. If you relax enough, you'll feel the vibration. We spoke about the biblical reference in terms of first was the word, then the word became flesh. So all of it is connected. And so then I talked about words that are empowering, right? Let's take it to the music. So music, again, sound, vibration. The easiest way to penetrate an individual is the music. How many times have you listened to music and it has caused you to feel different emotions, feel certain ways, feel upliftment, feel down, feel indifferent? So when you take, and that's just with the instrumental, just the music itself, the sound, the vibration of the sound, penetrating your being. If you lace that sound with words, then it quickly then comes into, and then you repeat the words because now you have a rhythm, it's melody. And then these words that are laced with the music then become your sutras. or mantras, and then you then manifest them in the physical. So it's important that your dominant thought, if you're about uplifting self and making the world better, which is about making yourself better first, to have the words properly, your dominant thought words, applying to yourself to make you a better person. And then with the sound, same thing with the music. Because we'll look at our youth, and if I use hip hop as an example, and they'll say, this mumble rap, this, this trap, they're not saying anything, blah, blah, blah. And then we say, well, why can't we get them to stop acting a certain way? Well, sound. The dominant thought, the mantras and sutras that they're repeating. No different than what we did when we came up. What sound did you listen to on a dominant thought? Dominant. That's how you manifest. What words do you apply to yourself? So if we're going to make and take advantage of this moment, as I referenced the killings of my two brothers and sisters, among many killings that have been going on and continue to go on as I speak, the first change has to come with self. You have to be the example that you want to see in the world. So this is some jewels in reference to how you can go about that process of being in your higher self. Because then if you want to see the world change around you, you first change yourself, and then that around you then changes. So then by you changing self, you now have started the process. And then the next process will then be family. And then for family, your community. And now we will successfully take this moment and then make it a movement. And then as how the essence works within us, the God force within us, as you go on that path or that road or that journey, your awareness within you, the God force within you, then will seek other similar fuel, the spirit or mental fuel, through the focus of the words, to come to you so that you can continue to grow and evolve into the essence, then to the being that we were all created to be. The uniqueness, the maximizing of the uniqueness of the self within the bigger self, the collective. So let's take this time. If we're truly about the business of making the world better, we'll start with ourselves and let's take time to focus on the word. Excuse me. Focus on the word, the sounds that are around us. Now, the passage that you heard me speak from was from the movie Dune, the original, in 1980. Excuse me, let me get some. Oh, pardon me. Had to get some water throat. But to wrap it up, from the original movie Dune, was a character called Moydean, and he was getting into his God self. He was reaching full harmony with the universe. And during this time, he was in a physical fight with one of his adversaries. And upon defeating that adversary, and upon defeating his adversary, he said the quote that I said at the beginning: some thought have a certain sound, that equivalent to a form. Through sound and motion, I have the ability to paralyze nerves, shatter bones, set fires, and suffocate lungs. And that resonated with me because I'm like, that puts everything in perspective. That puts everything in perspective. In that short passage, it speaks succinctly to how important sound is as it relates to maximizing who we are or who we could be or what we were designed to be, or how it could imprison us or keep us at our lowest state of beings to where then you can be manipulated, as we see happening around us, and being treated a certain way or being treated in a manner in which we don't like and keep us powerless in our own minds. So, some food for thought. And I can and will in subsequent posts be more specific, not more specific, but can venture off and go deeper into the different elements that I presented today. So I leave you as I greeted you in the beginning. Peace and greetings. Hotep. Wakanda forever.